What's up, Carter? This is a demo video for you for your Luke Hero. This saber was a beast and it is my first commission of the year. So hopefully they all aren't like this. This saber is something else, right? There was quite a few things I had to do in order to get this to work the way I wanted it to. I wanted to install a removable battery, which I did. All right, so by the way, this is installed with a CFX that you wanted 2 buttons set up, right? So up here is your power, back here is your auxiliary. I'm sorry, back here is your power, up here is your auxiliary. You can switch that pretty easily if you want to. You do have your 2 working LEDs, so red and green. This thing is a little bit older. I believe that our dude Jesse over at Kyberphonic owned it for a while. It had a previous install in it, although I didn't see any of that except for the control box. I saw what was done in the control box. I did clean that up a little bit, but I did keep the switches. I switched out the LEDs because they were white LED diodes that were used. I actually put, a red LED right behind the red lens. I put a green LED right behind the green lens, so those match. All right. So back to the saber. In order to get a removable battery, which you access by taking off the grenade section, I had to take this apart. It has a piece of ball thread that was holding the emitter, this piece, and everything to the grenade section, and it was sticking out in here, and it wouldn't let me put that in. That PCB holder in there for that blade PCB is very thin. I mean, it's probably only like that thick or so, barely double the size of the PCB itself. But I had to take that piece of all thread out, chop it down so it didn't stick into the grenade section, and then it also had another piece that was sticking in here that made it very difficult to put a low profile PCB holder in. And I went with a low profile because it's a thin neck and they're already known for not having a huge amount of blade depth. So I put in the most amount of blade depth that I possibly could for you. But in order to do that, I had to get that out of there. All right, so then I put everything back together, secured it. It's nice and tight now. There were a few scratches for me on this copper piece from having to take this off because I had to use 2 strap wrenches. This thing was glued, thread locked. About everything that could happen to threads happened to this guy, and it didn't want to come apart. So I had to use 2 strap wrenches to get it off. I did that. I chucked this onto my little mini lathe when I was done, spun it around and used some 1500 grit sandpaper to get all the scratches off this guy, and then I went to the buffing wheel and I buffed that as well. I buffed this piece and I buffed this piece too. I took all the scratches that I put on here off. All right, so that's why this piece is a little bit shiny. This piece right here is a little bit shiny, but with some time, those will age, or you could weather them if you want to. All right, so yeah, blade side PCB in there. Carl Chen PCB in here for your Neopixel connector. And then you have, of course, your main saber. So it says, of course, Solo Saber's over here for me. Just a little bit. I can't do too much to the chassis here because there's not a whole lot of room. So just put a little something. And it says Luke Skywalker over here in Airbrush. Okay. You've got a 7-pin connector here that makes contact with that blade side PCB. So that's how we get power to the emitter and the blade. You've got a removable battery set up here with everything hidden. Of course, your spring side for the negative side of your battery is up in the hilt. All right. If you ever want to get to your board, which you probably will, to do some fonts and stuff like that, what you want to do is take off this piece right here. So we'll unscrew this, not drop it. There we go. You'll see your speaker right there. You can just go like that and it'll fall right out. This is a 28mm Smuggler's Outpost Elite speaker. It does say Solo Sabers around there just because I was messing around and I want to put my name on it. But you've got a stock speaker PCB that matches those 2 pogo pins in there. And then from here, if you can see that, you've got access to your SD card and your micro USB. So whatever you want to do. You can literally take your finger in there and push your SD card in and out just like that. And then you might want to have a pair of tweezers to take it out though, because although it's easy to push in and out with your finger, it can be a little cumbersome to try to grab it like that. So I just use a pair of tweezers, no problem. Your chassis retention, which is something that you'll never see. You just pop that speaker in and screw this on and it's good to go. Your chassis retention that you'll never see is underneath the control box. So there's one screw holding on the control box. I cut about 4 threads off that screw so that I could put a set screw right in front of it, and that locks the chassis in. So this thing's not going anywhere, right? And then I put the screw on top of it, lock the control box down. Everything's good to go. This is glued because it was super loose. So just a little bit of glue on the underside. It's not going anywhere. And that's what you've got. I didn't do any fonts. This has a stock font package. This is just a straight CFX install. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll take our battery and throw it in. Take our grenade section and screw it right on. Lock it down all the way to make sure the 7-pin PCB there is making connection to the blade PCB. And then you get power just like that. See if we can find a green. There we go. So now we have green. Good. Flash on class. Auxiliary in the front. This thing is loud. We'll turn it off and we've got your LEDs going. So for future reference, if you want to start playing around with the sequences of these LEDs, your red LED is soldered to LED pad 1 and your green LED is soldered to LED pad 2. You'll need to know that when playing around with different sequences. All right, so that's how I wired it up. We'll go ahead and throw a blade in here. This takes a 1-inch diameter Neopixel blade. I'm going to turn this on so I make sure I get power. It is a super tight fit, just like that. You have a blade retention. I'm not going to use it for the sake of this demo, but your blade retention is right there. You've got one. That should be plenty. You see it right there. All right. This is a rough blade. This is my old test blade, so don't mind how dirty it is, but I needed a blade that was pretty sanded so that it would fit in this emitter. All right. One more time. I don't know how you're going to set it up, but how I have it set up currently, if you want to change color, you just hold down Aux and twist the saber. Spectrum. And then you can just twist it through different colors, right? Maybe we want a blue and power, you know. Now we have a blue blade. I know you know a lot about CFX. I just kind of like to go over everything anyway, as a habit for these demo videos. Go to another sound font.
Sound bank selection. Night 4. Crystal focus. Crystal focus. Nebula. Nebula. Spectrum. Blade profiles.
A few different blade effects on here as well. Multicolor blade. This thing is just screaming loud. And of course, how you get to your blade effects currently, how I have it set up is, like again, you would hold down Aux and twist your wrist, and you would wait for it to say blade profiles. And then of course from there you could twist the saber to whatever blade effect you want. There's quite a few on here. And then you can just press power when you find one that you like. All right, but when we're done, go ahead and just unscrew the grenade section. And you should be able to come over here with your finger and easily pop off the battery, just like that. All right, and that is basically your hero saber. Let me know if you have any questions. And if not, I think the post office is closed tomorrow, but I will get this out in the mail to you come Tuesday morning. All right, thanks, man.